Everyone, it's Michael K from Replica Airguns, and I've got another BB machine gun for you. This is the ZMZ Tyrex PPA-K-01 BB submachine gun, and this is a Russian-made product. You can probably see that from the engravings on this gun already. Now, I purchased this gun from a private seller here in North America. Now, this is a blowback, all-metal designed gun. As you can see, it's in the blued color, and I believe a lot of it is actually blued metal. It uses 12 gram CO2 cartridges. It also shoots 4.5mm steel BBs. This machine gun has a 25 round full-size dropout metal magazine. This gun weighs 3.24 pounds, which is quite a lot for such a small gun. It's actually very small, and you'll see that when I start handling it. The Tyrex has a 4.83 inch non-rifled barrel. It has a single action only bolt design. It's also semi and full auto, hence the machine gun name. And it has a claimed 328 to 394 feet per second velocity. It also has an interesting folding stock design, which I'll also show you later. Now, this is a replica of the Keter PP-91, which uses the 9x18mm Makarov bullets. And both the real gun and this BB shooting gun are both made in the ZMZ factory. And by the way, of course, ZMZ is a Russian factory, so this gun is made in Russia. Now, the Tyrex does come in a nice box. You can see here we have the little Tyrex over here, and you have these interesting sort of alien looking dudes, and then some sort of a monkey villain in the target here. Very interesting marketing going on in this box, and as you can see, I can't read much of what's going on in here. This does come with the typical wax paper packaging. I even have what looks like a handwritten note. If you're Russian and you have an idea what this means, please let me know. Your manual here, of course, it's in Russian. Not going to help us too much today, but there are some specifications in here, different things. Anyways, not going to help us too much. So I'll put this away for now. Alright, so we're going to take a little bit of a walk around of the ZMZ Tyrex PPA-K-01 BB machine gun. Starting here on the left side. Now, the majority of this gun is all steel. This is a steel gun. I doubt that there's any zinc in it at all. So it's very heavy and solid. The only plastic really on this gun are the grips here. Now, we have our bolt here, and this is for cocking the gun. So you would pull this bolt back to cock it. There's no CO2 in here. And then release it. So the trigger is all metal. Right now we're in single shot mode or single fire mode here with the selector. We have Russian instructions on here. This is a very solid switch, so you have to use a lot of force. Now we're in full auto. Now, I don't have any CO2, so I can't demonstrate that, but we're in full auto. When you bring this to the very top, you're in safe. And I imagine the A stands for auto. This O, not really sure, but that's single or semi-auto, full auto, and now we're in safe. You also see some other engravings on here. That's the model number there, their model name. You have a serial number, caliber. I'm not sure what this stands for here. I did want to mention that on the back of this gun, on some of the actual or the real version, you'll notice that there's some rivets here, and I've also seen versions of the BB gun where the rivets are there too. I don't know if you can see it, but they've actually smoothed it out. So they've riveted it and then smoothed it into the metal and then painted it over. See that a little bit on the other side here too. Maybe even a little bit more. You might see that you can kind of see the rivets, how they've tried to cover that up. We also have our magazine release right there, and I'll just show you this magazine very quickly. Now, it looks like there's a BB in it, but it's actually not. That's the follower BB. It's part of the actual magazine. So when you put the BBs in, you just simply press them in, and this little spring here holds it in, so I can actually pop it out. There goes my BB. I can pop out my BB just by letting this go. So you put 25 rounds in here. When it goes in, it's got a little bit of a spring, so there's probably a little bit of room as it goes in. You just push it in. It's very snug, fits very well. Now, the finish, I'm going to mention this possibly a few times. The finish on this gun may not be perfect, but the fit is very good. I find that everything fits very snugly. There's very little free play or wobble or anything in here. Everything is very tight. So the actual fit is good. The finish is more typical to what you'd find on a Russian gun. Metal trigger, not sure if I mentioned that. Metal trigger housing, everything pretty much is a metal. Assume it's metal unless I tell you otherwise. Alright, so let's take a look at the right side of this gun. Not as much going on here. Here's your ejection port where you would actually find the blowback happening here. Your shells would eject here. That's not going to happen with this BB firing version, but it is kind of cut out. You also have some other engraved markings. Again, this is in Russian. I have no idea what that means. Here's where you would find rivets on the real gun, but they've been smoothed out and actually pressed in and smoothed into the bottom of the receiver here. Again, metal trigger, plastic grips. Now on the top of this gun, of course, we have our sights. Front sight, which is fixed, rear sight, which is fixed, but it does switch from a peep sight, which you can kind of see here, to more of a pistol sight when you move the stock back and out of the way. And with the real version of this gun, it would actually be opposite. So you'd have the pistol sights version right now, and then when you fold the stock back, it becomes the peep sight, which makes more sense. And I'm going to see at some point if I can switch this around somehow, because it would work better. Now to open the stock, the folding stock, you push this button in right here and just fold it back. It locks into place. So you can see how this guy here just kind of swivels to change from the pistol sight to the peep sight. I'm not going to take this gun apart in any way. I'll just show you the stock. And this stock it's solid. There's no wobble. It's tight. So to fold it forward again, you just push this in with your thumb and you just fold it over. And a good idea is to push this in so you don't scratch up all the metal there. And again, locked in place, feels good, looks good, very solid little pistol. Now you can see that this gun is pretty compact. There's my hand and it covers almost the whole gun. It's not much bigger than an actual pistol. Maybe a bit heavier, but size-wise, it's pretty close to that of a pistol-sized gun. Now quickly on the bottom, this is where your CO2 goes here. You just pop your CO2 in there. So you pop it in the front there. I don't know if you can see, but there's the CO2 hole there where it would pierce it, and you tighten it up. Now when you shoot this gun, when you shoot all the CO2 out, you have to shoot all the CO2 out and make sure it's good and empty. And even then, put your finger on the CO2 right there while you're releasing it, because it tends to just all of a sudden pop. And if there's any CO2 at all in here, it could fly out of this gun and you never know where it's going to go, or if it's going to hurt somebody, yourself, or smash into something. I did find that one time, and I put 3 CO2s through this gun, it shot very well, but in one instance, when I pulled the CO2 out, I had a little bit of difficulty getting it out of there. It seemed to be jammed in there. I just pulled this right out. You can remove this entirely. And I just put a little piece in there just to give it a bit of a wedged it out there. So you can remove this threading if you want to, but there's no need to. Now as always, I like to do a quick comparison to another product that I have. So I brought out my Cybergun Mini Uzi, which is another fairly compact BB gun. Now the stock Cybergun only comes as a semi-auto, but there is a modification available to make it fully auto, and that's fairly easy to do. So both of these guns, as you see them here, are semi and full auto, and both really fun to shoot. They both have a bolt-styled single-action firing mechanism design. They both have magazines that come out. Now the Cybergun version, the CO2 goes in the magazine. That's really the main difference. Now with the Cybergun, the CO2 does go in the magazine, and the barrel is longer because the magazine feeds into the actual pistol grip. Whereas with this style of design, or the Tyrex design, you can see that the barrel is actually shorter because of the design of the magazine, where it's more forward in the gun. Both of these guns are a lot of fun to shoot. Now the Cybergun Mini Uzi is readily available in Canada and the United States. We sell a ton of these guns, so if you're looking for a BB submachine gun, this is definitely going to be easier and cheaper and probably just as fun to shoot. Alright, so we're going to head outside now and we're going to do the shooting portion of this test, where I chronograph it, I shoot it at a target in both semi and full auto, and then I do a little bit of pumpkin destroying. Well, not really destroying, but I shoot at a pumpkin anyways. Alright, so I've got my Russian made ZMZ PPA-K-01 BB submachine gun, and we're going to shoot 5 rounds through this chronograph because it's getting really cold out. And I kind of feel that if I get to the 8th round, it's going to really drop off because of the cool temperatures. I've had this gun inside in the warmth right up till now, so I'm hoping that'll keep the feet per second rating up fairly high. So here we go, we're in semi-auto mode. We're going to put 5 rounds through this and see what kind of real world feet per second we can get out of this fine little BB machine gun. Here we go. 307. 294. 288, 294, 288. I think this is the last one. Oh, that's 6. Okay, 283. So we fired 6 rounds and we stayed pretty close to 300. Alright, so we're going to move on to the rest of the field test portion of this review. I'm going to fire this in semi and full auto at some targets, and I'm also going to shoot a pumpkin. Alright, so we're here for the target portion of the test for the ZMZ PPA-K-01. I'm going to shoot 8 rounds in semi-auto, switch it over to full auto, and then shoot the rest of this 25 round magazine into this target. I'm using a different style target today because this is a machine gun, or BB machine gun, and that circle section is about 3.5 inches, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 3.5 inches in diameter. That'll give you an idea of where this gun is shooting and how accurate it is. Now I'm going to be aiming for the head because this gun does shoot a bit low, at least for the way I'm aiming it. And so I'll be shooting at the head, and hopefully I'll be hitting the center mass. Here we go. 20 feet out. Switching it over to full auto. Alright, it's not too bad. That's about a 1.5 inch, roughly. 1.5 inch group. Looks like I'm aiming in the right place. So let's go back and unload the rest of this magazine. Looks like that's it for this CO2 cartridge. Alright, pretty good. Okay, so let's move on to the pumpkin shooting portion of this review. Alright, so I've got my ZMZ PPA-K-01 Russian BB submachine gun, and we're going to put 25 rounds into this pumpkin. Sorry I don't have any cans for you today. I just don't have any on hand, so it's not going to be quite as dramatic. But we're going to take out this pumpkin, put 25 rounds into this nice little pumpkin face, and see how well we do. I'm also going to record this in high speed, so I'll get that high speed camera going right now. And we're rolling from about 15 feet out. Here we go. Safety's off, ready to go. Full auto. And that's that. Alright, so as always, shooting BB machine guns is fun. And this gun was no exception. It really performed very well for me. Now, it's not the hardest shooter that you're going to find. It's not going to have the most feet per second. But it was actually fairly reasonable in how many shots I got. I would say you can get about, now I'd say 3 magazines if you're shooting a little bit more semi-auto. If you're shooting full auto, you're probably going to get 2 magazines out of this gun. Either way, it shot fairly accurate in both semi and full auto, and it really performed well. I didn't have any malfunctions or gun operation problems at all. It really just performed exactly as you would expect it to. So let's get into some of the pros and the cons really quickly here, and we'll finish this review off. Now again, I really like the fact that this is an all steel construction, so we're not talking your typical air gun zinc metal. It's steel, just like the real gun would be. And because of that, it has excellent weight, and it's a very solid gun. The fit on this gun is good. Everything fits nice and tight and snug, and the operation works very well. It's a very accurate copy of the Keter PP-91, so it makes a great replica if you're looking for something to replicate that gun. And as I mentioned before, it has pretty good accuracy in both semi and full auto. I was really impressed. Even when I was using this gun with the stock folded back, so I wasn't able to use the peep sights, which would have made sighting a little bit better, I was using the pistol sights, but up close, which made it a little bit more difficult to aim. Now, even though I didn't have any instructions that I could read, I found this gun pretty straightforward and easy to use and easy to operate. I also really like the folding stock design. It almost looks like part of the gun until you fold it back, and then you realize it's a folding stock. And there's virtually no slop in this stock at all, whether it's open or folded. And as I said, I got a pretty good amount of shots. You can expect at least 2 magazines. if not 3 25 round magazines out of this gun, which is pretty good for a blowback styled gun. Another pro, if you want to call it that, is if you can get your hands on one of these guns, you will most likely be the only kid on the block with one of these. So I don't know if that's a pro or not. I kind of think it is. Alright, some of the cons. Now the sights are non-adjustable, and as I said before, the peep sight and the pistol sight, when they flip back and forth, should be in the other orientation. And I know with the real 9mm version, that is in fact the way the sights are set. So it would be pistol sight when the stock is in the folded position, and when it's open, you'd have the peep sight, which makes more sense. Now the CO2 is a little bit finicky, mostly when you're removing it. Again, be careful to make sure the CO2 is all gone, and even so, put your finger in there to make sure it doesn't fly out when you release the cartridge from this gun. Now you do sacrifice some feet per second, so this gun shoots closer to the 300 feet per second as we found out, but it did get pretty good shots per CO2, so there's always a bit of a sacrifice with any blowback gun. Now, as I said, the fit is good on this gun, but the finish is your typical Russian finish. You're going to find little scratches, and they really don't pay a lot of attention to smoothing things out or making the gun look pretty. It's really just what it is. It's designed to operate and function well, and looks are secondary. Now again, one of the pros is that if you do have one of these, you'll be the only kid on the block, but getting your hands on one of these is going to be extremely difficult. As far as I know, they're not really produced anymore, and very few people have them, especially brand new. By the way, this was a new one that I purchased brand new in the box, so I was very fortunate to get my hands on this gun. That said, I paid an arm and a leg. Now I'm going to actually tell you what I paid in this situation here because it is outrageous. I paid almost $600 for this gun. That would include the cost of the gun, shipping it, and some of my custom duty fees that I had to pay when I imported it. Alright, so that wraps up this review of the ZMZ Tyrex PPA-K-01 BB machine gun. It was a lot of fun making this video, and I'm really happy that I was able to get my hands on one of these. Now I know most of you won't be able to get one of these. Very difficult, very expensive. But as I mentioned before, the other option is our Cybergun Mini Uzi, a very, very popular gun that comes standard in semi-auto, but again, like I said, is very easy to modify to full auto. And to be honest, I would say the Cybergun actually shoots a little bit better. It's got more power, the blowback is even harder on that, so it feels awesome to shoot. And again, it's very accurate in both semi and full auto. And not only that, if you want to get extra magazines, or if you ever did need to find replacement parts, it's going to be a lot easier with a product that is being produced quite widely and available in lots of different areas. So thanks again for watching another Replica Airguns video. Make sure to check out my Replica Airguns website and web store, where we have lots of reviews, articles, products for sale, accessories for sale, air guns, blank guns, all kinds of stuff for you. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Don't forget to check out my Facebook and Twitter accounts, which go by the username Replica Airguns. So until the next video, take care and see you later.